This time we'll resume the meeting of November 3rd, 2014. Councilmember Friend, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Stevenson,
Present.
Councilmember Friend,
Here.
Mayor Velazquez,
Here.
Councilmember Valdivia,
Here.
Councilmember Gomez,
Here.
City Manager Avra,
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan,
Here.
Chief of Police Westrick.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the City Council meeting of November 3rd was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on October 29th at 10:20 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. City Attorney, is there anything you'd like to report out from our closed session hearing?
Yeah, 4 items were discussed. First, the status of the Hollister Firefighter Union PERB, which is Public Employees Board. Meeting on the October 17th report was given, and our negotiator was given instructions for the continuation of that meeting to this Wednesday. There was also a report given by our Assistant City Manager and the Labor Negotiator that the Hollister Peace Officers Association has reached tentative agreement with the city's offers. We're waiting for POA approval or ratification before that's, the terms of that agreement are brought forward to you for final approval. Fire chief's situation, status of the investigation, or the fact that an investigator has been hired and is presently conducting an investigation, was reported to the council. And finally, a report by our code enforcement and assistant city manager of code enforcement issues. He explained first the process of a receivership as a method which could get compliance, and he discussed a number of long-term properties that may be candidates for that, and he was given instructions as to the priorities of the council on that.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have a proclamation for the Key Club. Who is here to accept that? Sing us a song. Come up. Crystal. Whereas Key Club, is it working? Key Club International, the world's largest high school service organization, with more than 260,000 members in 30 countries, is observing the week of November 3rd through the 8th, 2014 as Key Club Week. And now therefore I, Ignacio Velazquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, proclaim November 3rd through the 8th, 2014 as Key Club Week in the City of Hollister, and call upon all citizens to support the members of this organization and to be aware of Key Club, whose members are preparing themselves to be responsible citizens through to our community. You want to say a few words for us? Just say the thank yous.
Okay. So just thank you so much for this proclamation. On behalf of the Key Club, we're very grateful for this. So basically, we're a student organization that helps to give back to our community. So our goal right now is trying to get more student participation and improving our community. And again, thank you so much for this proclamation.
Thank you very much. Let's move forward with the consent agenda. Are there any items council would like to pull from the agenda? Are there any items from the public?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item A2 and A3.
Okay.
Move to approve A1 and approve the amended agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 5-0 vote. Item A2.
Keith Snow,
Council. I wasn't here on the 20th, but on the Spencers, there's one on about 10,000, $8,400 for a security company. And I want to ask, is that for the Raleigh? For the company. And like a couple of things on the dispensary add up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is our finance director here to answer that question?
Thank you.
Actually, could he re-ask that question? We were trying to look it up real quick.
Mr. Snow, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, there's a I wasn't here on the meeting, right? There's a Spencer, is a company from but it's a security company for $8,400. So I was wondering, was that for the rally? Because you figure times four when you break it down, that $2,400 for like the rally thing, for like four parts for security. So when what's that for? I mean, $8,400. That's a lot of money because we have non-active officers and active officers. So points, right? Was it for the over there by the adultery fire, screening that, or the I mean, that's a lot of money. When the money, see, there's not that there. There's a lot of other expenditures want a question, right? That you guys see, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. We spend a lot of money on expenditures, right? You guys throw out there, right? But no one don't question it. Buying it for the people, because they're taxpayers. That right? And the people out there have 3-4 jobs, and they can't afford to even pay the water bill. So points, right, in bills. So for the taxpayer paying $8,400 for security, what's it for?
Mr. Snow can answer that probably for you. If
Go ahead.
it's okay.
Yeah, we'd have to
His
look it up.
question is the $8,400 for security. It's under the sewer, it's under sewer, the domestic sewer, Department 4990. That's where he's talking about that charge.
It would be at the domestic sewer plant, so we'd have to look it up exactly what it was for.
I could probably shed some light on it.
Is
When,
that
after
for the generators?
Yes.
Security for, there was a fire at the treatment plant on one of the buildings. They had to bring in specialized generators to power the plant for about a month and a half, or 2 months. So they needed security to protect those generators so they weren't stolen, and the plant would be shut down again, and then we'd have the odors again. So that's what that's for. Correct.
Don't they have cameras? Because we spend $4,000 for cameras, right? Isn't there like a camera over there?
These are mega generators, but large generators that are put in place, and along with that, a lot of cable, copper cable that's laid out and ran for it. So when the plant had the fire, the electrical fire, it couldn't operate without the electricity, so generators were brought in to run that plant. Otherwise, we'd have to shut off everybody's toilets. Okay? Was there another question you had on that? Okay, thank you very much.
Just for point of clarification, that was actually at the industrial
Industrial
plant.
plant,
And it had
we'd
nothing to
have
do
to
with
shut down, we'd have to
toilets.
shut down the tomato.
Thank you.
I misspoke there. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve A2.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 5-0 vote, item A3.
Keith Snow?
I looked it up on the Spencers, and I couldn't find what's the law for like four. That I mean has a name but not for what. So I mean, lately we getting lawsuit lately. My guys bring it up. So what's it for? And I knew y'all and I figure as a person, like one time, with another lawsuit, see when you guys hired, or you guys did hire another company and free thing and land on the house, and you guys denied that claim. I figure you guys shouldn't deny a claim like that. So things that we do, we're getting sued for, and the money we waste anyway. And the citizen, I figure, what's the claim for? We when you guys put something down there, make more like a fine print, so people know what it's for.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. It was actually listed on the agenda that it was damage to a sewer line from the roots of a tree. That's what the issue is about. Well, what if it's not our fault?
Mr. Mayor, this is
Okay.
why,
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Snow.
this is why it goes to a claims
claims
adjuster, and it's
adjustments.
all pursuant to the government code that we have actions to follow.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Is there a
Move
motion?
that we approve A3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 5-0 vote. There's no business on item B. C, public input. This is time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have several. Alex Iwak.
Thank you. My wife Ingrid and I would like to thank everybody here. Several months ago, we put the council and various people in the management of the city through some extra things. Those items were resolved. We appreciate your patience, help, and would like to say that report that about 6 weeks ago, that particular sewer line item has been completed. Everybody's happy with it. When we develop our parcel, we will not have to uproot that half of Cienega where the sewer line is in. So we'd particularly like to thank the mayor, the council members, the city manager, the city attorney, the city engineering department for expediting the plans, and we really appreciate your help and thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Keith Snow.
Council and people out there, I think it's time for a change.
No, Mr. Snow, we cannot campaign in the chambers.
Okay, well, then let's go back there. Let's say, for the council, but I feel, as citizen then, I feel we should lot better for the people, and how we spend money for the taxpayers. And I feel the way things are done. For example, the fire chief, Michael Carr, Rod Galvan, Rudy Kobe, a lot of things in the city. We should be out there. We should have more open policy for the people to know things. I feel as a council, what we do in the city, we should take charge of the city. We should do more for the people. We should more better programs. Matter of fact, for example, me getting feedback from people that at the skate park, it says drug infested. How can, and not some one people said, Ben's people said, people talk in person. We should do more for that. If we spend $400,000 more, you guys ain't got to feel what people pay for these cameras, right? For example, how much money does it cost to merge in the city, right? Merge in the city. And the person, we could do more media, more like, when you guys have a $10,000 reward, if I'm charging this, and may not be my experience, but law enforcement, raising Sacramento County, I'll do more media for other cities.
Mr. Snow, you cannot campaign in chamber.
Oh,
Remember,
okay,
you have been
well,
warned. It's illegal to be campaigning in city chambers.
Well, I'm sorry. Then now I'm saying that we should do more, me better. I mean, by experience. I mean, as a person, we should do more for the people. Thank you.
Marty Richmond?
Marty Richmond, Hollister. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if you pass a law in the city that said only half the people could vote, everybody be up in arms, but only half the people are going to vote, probably less than half the people, and we've got a lot of stuff on the ballot. If we didn't have some of these hot issues on the ballot, probably 30% of the people would vote. So they wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't stand for it if you told them they couldn't vote, but they're not going to bother to vote. For many of them, it's too late. They didn't register, so they're not going to be able to vote. But for those who registered, I hope they go down and do vote for whatever their personal preferences are, and that they exercise the franchise that people in many lands, including the United States in its history, have died to get. It's a shame that so few people believe they should do it. I don't quite understand it. I'm sure that some of them are just saying it doesn't make a difference. And then after they don't vote, they complain about how it all turned out. I complain about how it all turned out all the time. But I've earned the right to do that because I go in and cast my ballot. So if you want to get up and argue with me about it, just make sure you cast your ballot, because one of the first things I'm going to ask people is, did you vote? I know there's a lot of young people in the audience, and they've got good intentions. They all say, I'm going to vote. And then when they grow up and they become old people, they don't do it. All right? So even if you don't know the issues, go put an empty ballot in the box if you don't like what's on it. At least you'll have done step one, and maybe next year you will do step two. You will learn about the issues before you cast your ballot. I appreciate the time for me to try and get out the vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Marvin Jones?
Marvin Jones, Hollister. I've already voted. Only once, only once. Last week, United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Control finished their 6-year report. Over 40 times in there, it says that we've got irreversible consequences coming if the United Nations doesn't control the world. That's my interpretation. But the 41 irreversible consequences are in there. And there are a lot of things that they want to do for us. They omitted that there's been no global warming since El Nino of 1996. Global temperature's been reasonably constant for 18 years. Got a lot of seniors, juniors, whatever in here. These youngsters. I don't know if any of them are 18 or older. But there hadn't been any global warming since they were born, for many of them. But yet the United Nations wants to take us over. I had a handout to pass out to you. We're always worrying about the ice pack melting. The handout that you got, if you look at the northern hemisphere ice coverage, The yellow line is this year's, so it's got them there for 30 years or so. A few years ago, the Northern Hemisphere Arctic ice pack was melting. It's oscillating back up near normal, not quite mid-range. If you look on the other side, you got the Southern Hemisphere ice coverage. Just right at an all-time high. It's just yesterday, day before, it might have dropped below an all-time high for ice coverage. United Nations missed the report back 4th of July. There was a big brouhaha that the Western Arctic ice sheet is collapsing. And if you look on your graph there, around 180 days, there was a 500,000 square kilometer decrease in the ice coverage on the Southern Hemisphere. That was when the Western ice sheet collapsed. But it's gone back up. I don't know where the IPCC gets all of their information, but if they look at some of the data that is available, we hadn't had any global warming since before these youngsters were born. The ice sheets are recovering, both Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. So my 3 minutes are about up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Reed Sanders.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Reed Sanders. I'm a district representative for Senator Anthony Canella's office, and I'm afraid I'm going to cut this short because Marty stole most of my PSA about getting out to vote. I'll live. In any case, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate those who have already voted and encourage those who have yet to turn out tomorrow. Secondly, I'm here to announce the beginning of the Senate's There Ought to Be a Law contest. Now that's coming up, and I will be bringing forth announcements to that. This is the public's and anyone at large's opportunity to bring an issue they feel there ought to be a law for. So, to that effect, feel free to give me a holler at my office, 831-769-8040. In the meantime, congratulations to all those involved in running. It's a tough job, and vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Reed, is there a contest to eliminate any laws, or just
If only.
if only. Sorry, just had to throw that in.
Keith Snow.
Didn't you already speak on?
No, this is F1.
No, I'm
Right.
sorry, Mr. Snow, this is
We're still in
public input.
public input.
And I'm
Oh,
sorry,
RSV.
I
But
switched cards here.
I did put F1.
Yeah.
John Wogamont.
City council members, the only thing I want to say is, I've seen a positive change, in the last few years. The way we've been looking at things, the way, the displaced residents are being handled. Kudos to all you again for that. If we could, stop the homeless name and put like maybe displaced or residentially challenged, I think we'd all appreciate it just a little bit more, myself. And the rest of you young people, like Marty said, get out there and vote. Because if we don't watchdog the system and the politicians, they take over. And that's how governments and dictatorships get started. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have no others.
Is that it? All right, let's move forward to item F1. Capital improvement.
Good evening. In front of you right now is a resolution that will approve the Hollister Capital Improvement Program budget for the fiscal years 2014-2015. In this capital improvement projects program, there's a number of capital projects that have been identified. This item will actually approve those items and provide a supplemental budget appropriation for these capital projects. The total CIP, or the Capital Improvement Program budget, being asked for this year totals $8,243,000. Of that, nearly $5 million is for the airport runway rehabilitation project, which is part of projects that have already been approved. The total amount that has been appropriated through previous city council actions is $6,027,000. The current request for this year is, with this item, is $2,216,000, of which only $106,000 is from the general fund. The items that are being approved are various infrastructure improvement projects, which are outlined in the capital improvement program that was included with your packet. They include drainage programs, facility improvements, streets and roads, wastewater, water, and they also include projects from previous years which have already been, most of them have already been appropriated. Those are projects that were that begun last year or the year prior and need to be continued into this year. It also represents 15 projects that are considered new projects, and they are, for facility improvements, streets and roads, water. One of the key issues is a road rehab project. That is a new CIP project. It'll be a road rehab 2014-15, and in that budget, it also includes an update to the pavement management software that is proposed to be done by interns that the engineering already has budgeted. And those items will, that update will provide a list of roads that are, have been deemed to be most appropriate for, for the funding of the road rehab project. With that, in the program, there's a number of charts and graphs in here. We also included the past resolutions, and we have a description of the project funds and what a capital improvement project are, and what we use for prioritizing the capital improvements projects. So with that, I ask if you have any questions, and I will do the best I can to answer them. And staff recommends that approval of the program be made by the City Council tonight.
Okay. Are there any questions from council? Councilmember Gomez? I do, David. And do you already know what I'm going to ask you?
No.
All right. Streets and roads. I know that you have an allocation in there of $500,000 for pavement maintenance or repaving in there.
Right.
Sarah Vista, when do you folks come up with the priority list for the streets, the priority list for the streets that will be repaved? Because as you know, I've mentioned that road quite a bit of times, so
right. I'm
going to continue to mention it between Sunset and Vallejo for a very long time at least, or to even service the school. So
right, and one of the reasons why this particular project has included in it an update to what's called the Street Saver PMS project or program. It's a software that we enter all the variables, all the characteristics of a roadway. It hasn't been updated for years, basically because of staff shortages. And the idea is to use interns that will be able to go out and do a survey and inventory the streets and all the deficiencies that they have.
okay.
We enter all that into the program, and the program will spit out a list of roads that you will get the best value for the money. Sometimes the roads that the program will be selected will be roads that look like, they don't need maintenance on them, but they're at the point where if we let the road go for another year, they will start deteriorating really fast. It will also leave out roads that look like they totally need to be redone. Those roads are roads that have gone beyond the point of just doing a maintenance on them, and they need a much more expensive types of maintenance. And if we have the funding available to do a reconstruction as opposed to just an overlay, you know, the computer program should put out those particular roads as a maintenance. But you're not going to get nearly as much roadway done with rehabilitation as you will a road that needs to be maintained. So once the program is updated, once we pull out the list, once we look and see exactly what we have funds available for, and right now we're looking at about $500,000, then we'll be able to put a list together and come back to City Council and ask you for an approval of those roads. Sierra Vista may or may not be in that list. However, we will take in consideration certain other aspects when we come up with that particular road. There's a lot of other roads that I've heard a number of comments on. Monterey being one of them, and so there's a lot of different roads.
When do you anticipate? Do you have interns already? When do you anticipate being able to move forward with? Obviously, you need, this resolution approved and moving forward with the appropriation. But I mean, when do you anticipate having the program completed, and what timeline are you looking at?
Well, the hope is to be able to do the inventory as soon as possible, run the model or the program during the winter, summer of 2014-15, come up with with construction during the summer of 2015.
Yeah. Okay, great. Gas tax allocation. What was our allocation this year?
1.5. Is that correct? 1.5 million?
I don't have that particular with the gas tax, but the gas tax is used for a number of different things.
Correct. We usually
Get roughly about $1 million a year.
About $1 million per year. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to expand on something Councilmember Gomez is pointing out. Is I understand you might feel you're understaffed, but this is information, important information. We've been suffering with the roads for quite a while. We need to know what that number is and put more of a priority on that. It should never have gotten to the point of not having that information. We should be ready, so if that funding comes in, we're ready to move on these projects. So the condition the roads are in is unacceptable throughout the city. Obviously, we can only afford so much, but we need that information. Is that 10 million? Is that 15? Is that 20 million? What's that number? So we're prepared for it. And, accepting the excuse of we're short-staffed, so we don't know what condition the roads are in, doesn't work for me, personally. I think we need to make more of an effort on that to make sure we have that information up to date at all times. Councilmember Friend?
In the package you gave us, you mentioned a couple times about opportunities to bundle improvements. Do you have any idea with this long-term plan that you're looking at what those opportunities are going to be and what kind of improvement? Are we looking at improving by saving money or just being efficient?
Well, keep in mind that this capital improvement projects, this program that I'm bringing to you tonight is for the 2014-2015 fiscal year. There are a number of different projects that we'll be able to bundle projects in. Some of them have already been bundled, such as the police department, city hall service, and city hall server room improvements. That at one point during the project was so that was once two projects that during the preparation of the program we actually put the two together.
Give a guy a mic, he's not even funny.
Don't touch it. Some of the projects that we'll be looking at is, we'll look at all the different projects that we have in here for opportunities to bundle projects. The San Felipe ditch upgrade, which is the very first one in the drainage list. We'll look at if those are going to be included, or in that project, we'll look at including road projects, a road project with that will improve the surface of the road along that portion. We'll look at doing curb, gutter, and sidewalk along that way, that section as well. Those are an opportunity to spend other different types of funds besides drainage funds. So we will be looking at all the projects as we come up to see if we can bundle anything that we have not already identified.
Councilmember Valdivia, you had a question?
Yeah, I just have a comment to make. I don't know how to approach this. I mean, you weren't there all the time in your position, but I have one more month to go, and I'm still hearing the same thing that I heard when I started in the council 15 years ago. And I know there's never enough money, but, I'm still, the streets downtown are still in the same condition. So one of the things I push for, that they get dealt with, even if it was street by street, because the longer we wait, the more expensive it gets. I'm talking about 5th Street, West Street, all that downtown area, which used to be my district, and it's still in the same condition, plus worse. So in terms of the priority list, are you going to be looking at that? Or, I know why you paved the other one, the ones that don't need a lot of work, so they won't get to that condition. But we still have roads that are really bad. People are getting hurt. The sidewalks are even just as bad. The other day, there was my neighbor on the other side of where I live. They were walking, and she fell and hurt herself. I mean, and I know the sidewalk's going to be dealt with, but one thing that I would like to know from staff is, like Mayor was saying, in terms of the dollars, I know we have limited dollars, but something needs to come to pass before it gets more expensive. Now, I know it's not going to be, like 5th Street, I know it's not going to be fixed within a month. It's impossible. But it's in the same condition, and if you have a bad back, do not go down west from this side to that side, or go down 5th Street, because it's bad. It's really bad. So I just want to make that comment, to my colleagues here, because they're the ones going to be here to make sure some of the stuff gets implemented along with staff. But priorities are priorities, but you have to really look in terms of areas where people are getting hurt. They're falling, they're tripping. Some people really get hurt too. I'm not just talking about elderly people. This other person, she was an elderly person, but she was walking with her daughter, and she fell and she got hurt bad over there on, I don't know what street it was, B Street or
Yeah, and there is a sidewalk replacement program that is part of the CIP program. But I do want to let you know that, during the construction and the planning for roads that, when we start to go out to bid and actually do the construction work, we actually do as much sidewalk repair along those stretches as we can. We also do what we can at corners to make all corners in those sections of roads ADA accessible. And so you'll see that we'll go on roads where corners, they may have a curb ramp, but it's not the current standards. We'll replace that or do what we need to do to make that current standards. But we do go through and make sure that at least those sections that we do any construction on or maintenance on, that we do provide for ADA accessibility. And we do the entire intersection so that people can get from one corner to the other in a safe manner. And we do them to current state standards and state requirements in accordance with Caltrans.
And also, I know that when the sewers blow up in the streets or whatever, I know that they go in and dig in and they patch it. It's just patch. You don't think that would be an opportunity to take care of like say 1 or 2 blocks of whatever the affected area is, it's already being dug up, it's already being, because the sewer lines have to be fixed and replaced or whatever. Because downtown, you're looking at the older piping, and the pipes aren't that big, they're the smaller ones, which
Yeah.
should have been this big, but anyway.
Yeah,
something that-
one of the criteria that's looked at is known as utility patches. So those areas that have experienced a lot of utility patches, sewer repairs, water line repairs, those are roads that actually get a little bit more degraded in what's called the PCI, the Pavement Condition Index. So those will degrade that PCI to a point, that may throw it into a high priority road. And we have a number of roads that utilities have gone through and did the best they can to patch. Unfortunately, when a road is patched, it actually takes some of the lifespan out of that road. So we try and use that. That's one of the things we use to evaluate it. So there are, a number of different things that we look at for utility patches.
Well, hopefully that, something is done quickly, and so, because the longer you guys wait for the places, like especially in the old downtown, in the older parts, it's gonna be more, it's already more expensive.
Excuse me, one of
Okay,
the things
that's
I
all.
might suggest, as we look at just roads in general, and as David said, as the pavement management system is updated and developed, one of the things that staff can provide to the council is this, is that we can provide you the list of priorities that the pavement management system spits out, so to speak, and then we can come up with an alternative that says, you can do these 4 roads and then maybe this section of West Street between 5th and 7th. If you want to try to sort of gain some ground on some of the concrete roads that are actually in downtown. Obviously, you'll miss out on fixing, probably a few other roads. But if the goal is to try to eliminate the concrete roads in downtown, that's probably something that you're going to have to do. So we can provide you a couple of different scenarios or options, and we'll let the council decide at that time what seems to be the most appropriate at that.
Okay, I have a couple of items. The disposal beds and the energy efficiency project. Councilmember Friend and I have met with a few different companies on how we could better take care of this continuing problem we have at the industrial pond, and we've come across a couple of companies that are looking at different ways to do it. And I think if we maybe postpone these, table these, we can hopefully implement those ideas that are less costly as far as energy, less costly as far as having it done, more natural, and much better for our environment. It would help, actually, it ends up creating a wetlands in the area for a much lower cost than what we're going to pay here just for the drying beds. So I think if we can maybe table those 2 items, these companies are putting together some designs and proposals, or so we can go off for a request for proposal soon, so we'll have better information, so we can move more quickly on those, rather than committing $1 million, $1.3 million, $1.4 million on those items. We could probably do quite a bit more. So I would say if we can table those 2 items.
So what I'd like to suggest is maybe, if you want to table something, that we table the disposal beds until at the latest next year. We are running out of room for sludge
The
storage.
sludge removal, exactly. And this is what these products will do. They'll start attacking that sludge. We looked at the industrial ponds, and if by working through what we have right now, we could layer that so we have a 7-foot layer of water cover sheet on that, and at the same time implement a new process which will eat at that sludge at about 1 to 3 feet a year, which would give us 2 to 3 years, and the sludge would be pretty much gone from that industrial pond. That's what's causing us the odors out in the pond. And if we do it the other way of just pulling out the sludge, what we're going to do is create a odor problem again, and we're going to pay several million to do that. So this might be a more natural way to do it. We can invest some of this money towards that program as those proposals come forward.
Okay, the first project, the disposal beds, that's for the domestic wastewater
It
treatment
is,
plant.
but this
The
this
second-
treatment would work for both
Yeah,
areas.
The second project that you're wanting to table, the energy efficiency project, that's a project that San Benito Foods is highly interested in. It's a project that will cut the energy use at the plant, and it's not gonna actually cost the city any money. Actually, San Benito Foods will be paying the $85,000.
$88,800.
The $88,800 to the city, who will then pay PG&E that money. So it's essentially a loan from PG&E, so that we can get this energy efficiency project in. It will save, quite a bit of money. It actually has about a 6-month payback period, and it's actually a very beneficial project to not only the city, but also San Benito Foods. It actually will not cost the city any money, except for the small administration that will go with it.
I fully understand that. The new products that we're talking about are actually highly energy efficient. So this would not even be required if we move forward on this. These new products would save much more than what this can save here. So what I'm saying is, let's put a focus on some of the things we need to do at the industrial pond. And if it works, we can shift over to the domestic plant to tackle it the same way, so we're not spending the money here and still having to pay to remove that sludge. So if we could postpone that or table that, I think that might be a...
Mr. Mayor?
Just Councilmember Gomez.
Can you just identify what those two items are?
It's the
Just,
disposal beds,
Okay.
and it's the energy efficiency project. That's just the energy efficiency project. It has some controllers that helps regulate the usage as far as the motors on the industrial plant, which runs of 18 to 20 aerators during the season, which is costing the $500,000 to $600,000 electricity a year.
What is the, and that allocation is 1.5, you said?
The disposal beds is 1.1, and the energy efficiency project is a total 177,600.
Okay.
A lot of that funding will be coming from PG&E and from San Benito Foods, but I think what we're saying here is that these technologies that Councilmember Friend and I looked at are actually more natural. They use a fraction of the energy that's being used right now. It's more of a natural treatment to sludge treatment than what we're using right now.
Okay, well, it's the first I've heard of it, so that's why I'm just,
It's very interesting, yes. We just met on it last week.
Okay. Are we sort of in a time-sensitive position here? I mean, do we need to, can we just adopt moving forward with the capital projects?
I think if the council is all in agreement with removing a couple of projects from the CIP program, I think it's very appropriate to make that as part of the motion. We can remove those two.
Can we add them back in that easily?
Yeah, it's sort of a living document.
If it doesn't work
Yes.
out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I said, one of the things that I think we need to sort of realize and our focus is that we can add CIP projects to the program at any time. This is a project or a program that should be updated every single year. The city of Hollister hasn't had one in I don't know how long now. Before we kind of go down that path, I wanted to thank David and Renee and Cheryl Mullen especially for all the time that they spent putting this together, because I think that it's something that the city really should have had for a very, very long time. And so
It's good to see it come forward.
We weren't living in the capital ages for the past few years, so
even without the capital ages, you should have something.
Yeah, well, it was pretty tough, but I do, if staff's, if there's no reason not to hold that back, I don't have a problem with it if we want to evaluate if that's
Right.
doable here, so I have no problem with that.
Okay.
We were just discussing real quickly if there was a contractual obligation that we had with PG&E on the energy efficiency, and we'll take a look at that too and report back.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, with that being said, are there any other questions from council or from the, any speaker cards?
Yes. Keith Snow?
He needs a microphone?
Microphone is coming.
Council, City Manager, I thought Jim Hart and all that, now wait, I thought Jerry earlier, because I need the projects, from the Melina, they'll operate the streets over there, the plant, and to try to do something about that, because when the smell happened, the smell. But one thing that I learned, you got able to the retreat, and then and it's good when you do construction, because I'm retired engineer foreman, and I'm on construction company. And one thing that you got to spend more money on the project before it starts. And I learned that all cities and counties. And I work with them all the time before I got hurt. Worked for them for 20 years. But the point is, right, and the thing you guys all talk about doing the roads, or even downtown over here, west side's gone. But we can patch it. I thought you do it Clay Lee. The while back when it was good. See, would not talked to you before. We need to re-coordinate the city. And then we have a lot of engineers here. I'm a retired engineer, right? So you figure, we have people there, it's called work ethics, work performance. And to go look at all the projects, not the projects, the contracts. Because we are the clear spot, the one that I've been there about, 2010. You guys say we had no money, we got spent $7 million for clear spot. And the PG&E, we're spending money, now waiting for run out for Jared tonight to send to me. We're spending money for clear spot. I know how much money we're spending, but it's a lot of money. But one thing we're not doing right is called sufficiency. Like I told you before, I talked to the bill. City manager, we need to record the city. We know who does what. Because what we're doing is called waste. We're wasting our time. You guys talk all the time what you can do, but I was sitting at the end. I talk to people all day long, this since months and years. They're waiting for it. How long they can wait? You guys make promises you guys don't keep. When you make a promise, you keep the promise. When they say you can do this, do that. Don't talk, do it. I'm good at what I do. You know, I'm disabled, and I'm really good. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Snow, but we can't just do things. There's laws in place from Sacramento that require us to follow the rules. I would much rather be without those rules myself also, but since they are there, we have to follow them, or we lose funding from the state and we get nothing done in our own community. I don't like them like I think most people here, but those are the rules we have to follow to get things done, and that's how government works here. Do we have another speaker?
Yes, Marty Richmond?
Marty Richmond again from Hollister. First, I hope we put fixing this microphone on the CIP list.
That's on next year's list.
That's a permanent fix. So, because I can't touch it, I know if I touch it, it becomes disconnected. So I have to use it where it is. I would like to use this opportunity with this captive audience to explain to these young people what's going on here. The city of Hollister has 35,000 residents or so. We live in a seismically active area. you put in a street and the earth shakes and the street cracks. You put in a sewer line that's been there for a long time, and the same thing happens, the sewer line breaks. And the trees grow and the sidewalks pop up. And it is a very expensive proposition to fix those if they were put in 20, 30, 50 years ago. And now you have to put them into current conditions and the current style, and they have to have various properties. And they're better than the originals because they have disability access. They're a lot more flexible. They won't break as easy. But it's a lot. And so you hear a couple of $1 million or $8 million for a CIP. Well, let me tell you, the truth is that's peanuts. We probably got $20 or $40 million worth of backlog waiting to be fixed. And the truth of the matter is, and I hate to say this, but it has to be said, we're losing ground. We're not gaining ground. I think Council Member Valdivia said, 15 years I've been waiting for some of this to be fixed. Well, there's a reason. It isn't because we haven't fixed anything. It's because we haven't had the money to get it fixed. It's an expensive proposition because of the rules and the regulations and everything we have to go through to get something fixed, and who we have to give the contract to and what we have to pay people. So the only answer for that, unless everybody wants to dig into their wallet, and I can't hear anybody behind me rustling to dig in and pull out $20 bills. The only answer to that is to get the economy running, and I know you agree with me, Mr. Mayor, to get the economy running. People think, I come up here and talk all the time about getting the economy running locally. They say, oh, you just like rich people. No, I would like to see people employed. You don't have to be rich just to have a job. The truth of the matter is, every time a dollar moves, the government plucks some of it out of there. That's just the way it works. You know, you get a little income, a little more income tax. You buy a little more gas, a little more gas tax. And so that is the money that's used to build all the things that we use here in the city, including the building we're sitting in was built by somebody with somebody's money. If we don't get any economic change here, all we're going to do is continue to deteriorate, because we can't even hold back the tide. I know we don't live on the ocean, but I meant that literally, not figuratively, or the other way around. For the young people who are sitting here, next time somebody asks you whether or not we should do something to promote business here locally, just remember that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I want to point out that Marty's captive audience, half of them left.
I now have a better opinion.
And there goes the others.
Run!
Do we have any more
I don't have
speaker
any more.
cards? Okay. All right, is there a motion from council?
I move that we approve the capital improvement projects program with the exception of the two items we talked about to remove and hold.
Specifically, the drying beds.
Disposal beds and the energy
And the
efficiency
energy
project.
efficient project.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
you.
Move forward to item G1, report from city council members regarding committees. Councilmember Gomez,
No committees.
Councilmember Valdivia,
No, no report.
Councilmember Friend.
No committees other than the one you brought up about the meeting that we had with the contractors that would like to clean up the wastewater plant and the energy efficiency of how we have to run those pumps and stuff. So I think that it's an exciting proposal, and I'm waiting to hear what their final bottom line is so that we can move forward. I think it's one way that we're going to be able to clean up the issue and hopefully long-term never be in the point where we are now with the beds being full. And two, I think it's going to save the city huge amounts. I was shocked when I found out how much it cost to run the disposal unit. If we saved half of that, the CIP is going to pay for itself. So that's the only report on any committees I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson,
No.
I don't have any reports either. Okay, informational reports from City Council. Councilmember Stevenson, any informational reports you want to talk about coming up?
Well, just want to remind everyone about Veterans Day and also to go out and vote.
Councilmember Friend?
Yeah, I also want to elaborate on the Veterans Day, which is November 11th. There's going to be quite a bit of activity at the Veterans Memorial Building with ribbon cutting on the new improvements that have been made there. If you haven't seen the building in the last 2 years, you're going to be amazed at the inside of that building, what it looks like now. Also, there's going to be some remembrances, and there's going to be some ceremonies held both at 10:30 and 11 o'clock, and then there's going to be a lunch held at noon, and then at 1:30 we have a parade downtown, which is going to involve probably several hundred people right now, from what I understand, the list of the floats and stuff that are going to be there. So I would hope that everybody would show up and show a little support for our veterans, and it's just one day. Hopefully we don't get any rain this year during that day. And would appreciate everybody being involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Valdivia?
Oh, I just want to welcome all the students here tonight. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself. Welcome, because you are a future. I just wanted to encourage everybody to go vote. It's really important, like everybody has said. I think that our voice is very important, and I truly believe that, you know, one vote can make a difference, but if all vote, it can make a big difference. Nomás quiero decirle al público, para las personas que cualifican para votar, es muy importante para que vayan a votar. Es un privilegio para ir a votar. So, no se les olvide, voten, porque su voz cuenta. No nomás una, todos. So, si cualifican para votar, los urjo que vayan a votar. Gracias. Thank you. I just translated.
Muchas gracias. Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just echo what the council said, and that's to not to forget to go and vote if you haven't already. Quite a bit of the population is registered vote by mail, but if you haven't, don't forget to go. I'm a little old school, so I still go to the precinct and go vote. It's I don't know if it's a lack of trust in government or what, but I'd rather go there. I don't know if that even helps anyway, but anyway, I still like to do it the old-fashioned way. And then I also want to thank our veterans for their service. Veterans Day is next week, as Councilmember Stevenson mentioned. I want to thank her for her work that she does for our veterans. And at least here in front of me, I have Marty and Councilmember Ray Friend, who are veterans, so thank you for your service. I think that's the biggest thing an American could do, is serve its country, and actually that's one of the biggest regrets I have. I wish I would have done that. But I thank you all, and please send my best to Vince, Mickey as well for his service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to talk a little more about what we were discussing of new ways to treat the sludge at our treatment plants. Councilmember Friend and I have been discussing this with a few different companies. We're looking for solutions for gray water, and also there are treatment plants. You can get some more information on this if you go to floatingislandswest.com. And what it is, more of a natural habitat that cleanses the waste as it comes through more naturally, rather than the other way of just pumping things around and creating the odor that we all hate at the beginning of cannery season. The goal is to stop that process, which we know does work, but it does smell at the same time, and trade that for something that's more natural, more friendly to the environment, and it's good for the habitat, more birds coming in and different wildlife. So we're working on that, and with the gray water, what we're trying to do is capture the gray water at the new homes rather than having that flow to our treatment plants, which would extend the life of our treatment plant, which is a large savings. When you think about building a new treatment plant that costs $150 million plus, if we could delay that, having to build a new treatment plant by capturing gray water, which is about 70% of the water that goes to the treatment plant. If we can do that at each new home, we can prolong the life of our treatment plant additional 30 to 40 years. So we're excited about working on that project. City Manager.
I don't have really much to report tonight. Our paint crews were out painting some bike lanes along 4th Street over the last couple days, and we have a new high visibility crosswalk across the street from Calaveras School that came out really nice. So if you get a chance, that's off of Central and Felice, I think. So if you get a chance, we've been out there trying to make some of those small improvements for safe routes to school. So.
Excellent. City Attorney.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Chief.
Two things. This last week I attended the International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference and was able to attend classes that were specific to small agencies, grant writing, school resource officer, a lot of good things got exposed to there. They were actually fantastic things that I'll bring back and implement here in our city that I think will be really improve, I think, some of the things that we can do now. It's one of those things that, we don't really, we have ongoing training for police officers, but for police chiefs, there's not a lot of it. So I was really happy to attend that, and I appreciate the city manager for allowing me to go to that, because I think it's important that we always explore new ideas, new technology, that kind of stuff. Again, we'll be at, of course, the Veterans Day. Proudly, we've been there every year, and I can't wait. If you notice in front of the Veterans Building, you'll see that they put banners up and recognize those that are deployed right now. And one of the kids that, probably the kid that inspired me to start Halter Gives Back, actually his banner was put up this week there. His name's Alex Garrett. He's a good local kid. He's stationed over in Germany right now, and I want to thank the veterans for doing that for us, and it was a real big deal, and I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. City Clerk.
Thank you. I just wanted to officially thank Christine Black for taking such good care of the city clerk's office and the city council while I was on vacation. She did a great job, including spending 2 nights here in the council chambers for the Farm Bureau's election forum, and 1 additional night for the parade workshop for the Lights On celebration, which is November 29th. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's move forward to item G3. Traffic officer funding.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is basically asking for your recommendation for a potential funding source that we've discovered. As you know, we have not had traffic officer positions at the Hollister Police Department since 2003. That funding ended after a grant had expired, and there weren't any available funds to continue that project. We continually have complaints throughout the city in regards to traffic enforcement or speeding vehicles, unsafe driving, and we do as much as we can, but as you know, with the limited staff that we have, our officers conduct traffic enforcement in between calls for service. In 2003, the Assembly passed the Bill 767, and that bill is for counties that vote for this. It gives them the ability to add additional $1 to every vehicle registered in the county, and an additional $2 for every commercial vehicle registered in that county. That money then is to be used for auto theft task force within that county, and or if there is no auto theft task force, the money is supposed to be used for DUI enforcement. In this county, we do not have an auto theft task force, and DUI enforcement is one of the priorities that we've had. We've had the good fortune and the hard work of Lieutenant Olson. We've been able to get OTS grants for the last few years, and that money we've been using for overtime to conduct DUI enforcement. But what we are proposing today is, if the council sees fit, is to move forward with a plan to use the funding to offset a cost for a new traffic officer. The officer would split its time between traffic enforcement and DUI enforcement. And the funding currently, right now, for that amount of tax is the same amount of money as another fund, and that amount of money is about $55,000 a year. So if the council sees fit, if you would like for us to continue with the project, we would push forward and reach out to intergovernmental or the Board of Supervisors directly and propose a plan to do such, use that money for a traffic enforcement officer, and to continue with the possibility of using this money to benefit the whole community. Would you like to have any questions?
Are there any questions from council? Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Captain Reynoso, and we appreciate you guys putting this together. Obviously, I know the freelance wrote something about it a while back, and there's obviously, I mean, traffic enforcement just in general is important. It seems like with our limited resources, obviously, I've been out on ride-alongs with your officers, and it didn't seem like there was very much time to spend doing that stuff. So unfortunately, it was going from call to call to call, and if there was anything in between, then some traffic enforcement was done if there was any so-called downtime, which there wasn't very much of. So I'm happy that you folks are bringing this. I'm fully supportive of it. I am going to mention something, and Marty mentioned this, I believe, somewhere. I don't know where, but he mentioned this somewhere too, and I echo his comments. And you know, Billy just mentioned earlier about safe routes to school and making sure that we're a pedestrian-friendly community and folks are driving safely. That's very important. So I'm gonna mention the school issue. I know we haven't hired anybody. We have to take action on this first, and then you'll do that. But I'm gonna start lobbying now for enforcement around schools, because I think I just think parents could do a lot better job driving around schools. So you know, I'm definitely going to lobby for that, not just because of them, but because of the safety of our children. You know, we see that happen quite a bit. I deal with traffic enforcement with SJPD in San Jose, and they have a specific traffic enforcement unit. That's all they do. And when I drive to certain schools in San Jose, I'll see them out there, 5 motorcycle guys lined up, handing out tickets left and right. And it's unfortunate, but hey, if you're breaking the law, that's too bad. So anyway, I'm going to lobby for that. So hopefully you guys could put some focus in the school areas. And I also, you folks have done an excellent job with, at least from what I've seen, with DUI enforcement. I've seen the checkpoints that you folks put together through the grants that come up, and that's excellent. I despise people that drive drunk. I have an 18-year-old daughter that's out there driving around, and I'm out there, my wife is out there, we have family, we're all citizens, we have neighbors that are driving around out there, and the last thing we need is people driving under the influence of anything. So, you know, I think this is a very good cause to put more money behind. So I'm very supportive of this, and I just hope that you'll keep that in the back of your mind in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to answer a couple of things and give him a little information. So I'm currently, we're talking about trying to get the second school resource officer as well. That we know that we have some grant funding, but we still have to work out some details with the school district, and we'll know a little bit more about that in the next month or so on that. But we did actually receive the COPS grant for a secondary school resource officer. If all goes well, we're hoping a start date around March or maybe June would be the time for that. And as you know, the agreement with the school district with our current one is for, there's a traffic enforcement element at the schools as well. So if we actually have 2, that would increase that twofold. Secondarily, and this isn't something that has come out yet, but last week we received notice that we were actually successful in the Avoid grant. And that's in a grant that for us is sort of unique because we partner with the County of Monterey. And that grant allows us to do regional operations for DUI. And we'll continue to do that this year as well, working with the County of Monterey, which pays for officer overtime during those operations, which is obviously pretty vital coming up in the holiday season now.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson, you had a...
So this is for one position in particular?
Yes.
And do you know, basic, it's $1 to $2 added, that comes directly to the county to offset?
Well, the Assembly bill allows the board to take that vote and start collecting that money, and then it needs to be allocated or spent in this particular way. So it would have to include the Board of Supervisors' approval for it to be used in this fashion. Currently, the county does not have a DUI program or an auto theft task force. They do participate in the VOID program like we do, but that is just for overtime reimbursement. And the money we're talking about here is roughly 35 to 40% of the cost of a traffic officer. So it doesn't cover not even half the cost, but it would be, that's why it's up for your recommendation whether the city would be willing to pay the difference in that new traffic position. I must add that the Assembly bill obviously has a portion of it that advises that this money is not to supplant any existing funding. So this is why we want to create a new position in accordance with this, and that way we could continue to use that money not just for overtime, but for a position that will benefit the community all the time.
Thank you.
Councilmember Friend?
I do it. And I support the idea of having a traffic policeman out there, and we've talked before about bringing back the motor patrols. My concern is not being a big fan of the Board of Supervisors. If they decided that they wanted to use this money the way we were asking them to, my problem is next year they decide not to use it. I would hate to think we're gonna add a position at $150,000 a year total cost, and next year the Board of Supervisors decide to do something else with the money. I'm wondering how we can get some assurances from them that this is not gonna be something that every year we have to go back them for this money. I know you can't answer that. My concern is that I agree with this, but I hope the public realizes that we can't count on that $55,000 every year. That's subject to their approval every year.
It's not, the way the law is written, they vote one time to start collecting that tax. And it's not a yearly vote that they need to take.
Oh, I see, okay.
They just have to agree to start collecting the tax, and then the conditions on how they use it kick in. Now, the plan that we're proposing, we believe that will fit the criteria, because they would be used for DUI enforcement as one of the options for this. Now, if the county wants any of that money, or use any of that money, they would have to use it in either an auto theft task force or a DUI enforcement, both of which that don't exist currently in the county. And usually the sheriff's departments, when they find DUI drivers, they hand them off to CHP. So, and the VOID program from last year, there was money available for overtime for the sheriff's office. Only a limited number of hours were ever used by the sheriff's office. So, yes, potentially they could decide to use some of that money, but that would mean that they would have to initiate their own program. And up until that happens, they can't use that money until it's a program that fits the criteria of this law.
Also, where are you buying your motorcycle? You're getting a good deal on it.
I thought that was a good price too.
I thought, well, it's not a Harley.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, well.
I can get you a good deal on an Indian. No.
They're very nice. I might add that also one of the reasons why, since 2009, we switched the look of our patrol cars to black and white. And one of the things we wanted them to look like is that people saw them and they knew exactly it was a patrol car coming. They knew the help was coming. They knew where to go to if they needed something. Unfortunately, that hurts us when we're doing traffic enforcement. When we're driving around in that black and white car, everybody's driving to the best of their ability. And when you do have a motorcycle, that motorcycle blends in a lot better, and that's where you get the enforcement. And having a motorcycle officer, you'll find people will slow down even with the officer not working that day because they don't know where he's at. The fact that you have a motor officer out there tends to have most people slow down a little bit and drive safer, and that's what we want.
Good. I'm happy to see this. I know we've had this conversation for a while now, and we've been trying to find the funding for it. You guys did a great job last year in the last year's budget. I went to a gentleman's home that invited me to come out and watch the traffic pass his house each day. And in the 10 minutes I was there, we saw maybe 10 cars go by. 70% of them were breaking the law. They were talking on the phone. Sarah Vista, I didn't want to name the street. They were texting and they were speeding. And as they passed, I had a white car there. I don't know if they thought I was a cop or something, but they all hit the brakes really quick. But it was an S-turn, really dangerous. And I know you went out several times to do traffic enforcement there, but it's an ongoing problem. Behind my house, there's drag races every night. And I know there's no way to attack this without the help that you're talking about here, and I'd like to see this come forward. I'm hoping that next year we can add another motorcycle to it. So it's time we really crack down on the traffic. And when people call and complain about how we're being too mean to them, I'm going to tell them the same answer. Slow down, and you won't get a ticket. So thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Do we have any speakers first?
Do we have any speakers on?
I'll make the motion that we approve. My motion is to approve item G3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. There is no business on item H, I, J, and K.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much, everyone.